All right, good evening. Before we call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners, we have two hearings. And so I'd like to begin with the BINA hearing, the Bond Issuance Notification Act. So at this time, we'll open up the Bond Issuance Notification Act required hearing to receive any comments relative to the district's proposal to sell general obligation limited park bonds in an amount not to exceed $1.25 million. All persons desiring to be heard on this matter will now have an opportunity to present written or oral testimony to the Board of Commissioners. These proposed bonds are to be issued for the payment of land condemned for purchase or purchased for parks, for building, maintaining, improving, and protecting of the same, and the existing land and facilities of the district, and for the payment of the expenses incident thereto. That's a mouthful. Before we take any testimony from the public, would any of the commissioners like to make any comments relative to the proposal? All right. Are there any residents or members of the public here this evening that wish to provide oral or written testimony concerning the proposed issuance of the general obligation limited park bonds? All right.
No.
Thank you. The BINA hearing meeting is adjourned. We have another meeting this evening to begin, the Wilmette Park District 2022 Budget and Appropriations Public Hearing. It is now 7:31 p.m. and the public hearing is open for comments on the combined annual budget and appropriation of funds for the Wilmette Park District, Cook County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning the first day of January 2022 and ending on the 31st day of December 2022. A link to the annual budget and appropriation of funds ordinance has also been published on the Park District website and is available for public inspection at the administrative offices of the Wilmette Park District, 1200 Wilmette Avenue, Wilmette, Illinois, since December 6, 2021. All persons desiring to be heard will now have an opportunity to present written or oral testimony with respect to the 2022 proposed budget and appropriations ordinance. First, are there any comments from any of the commissioners?
No, sir.
All right. Are there any written or oral comments from the public? Okay. Hearing no further comments or questions regarding the combined annual budget and appropriations of funds for the Wilmette Park District, I declare the public hearing closed. All right. So now I would like to call to order the Wilmette Park District regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners this Monday, January 10th, 2022. Could I begin with a roll call?
Commissioner Duffy?
Present.
Commissioner Anderson is absent. Commissioner Frazier?
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Here.
Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Goebel?
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Here.
You have a quorum.
So I would like to state the obvious that the role of Steve Wilson tonight will be played by Liz Cox, the Superintendent of Human Resources and Risk Management. Liz, thank you for being here with us. We're looking forward to it. Just for public general information, our staff has been hit pretty hard by COVID. We currently have two of our superintendents who are out with COVID, and our executive director, Steve Wilson, was with one or both of them in close quarters. And so out of an abundance of caution, even though today he did test negative, he's decided not to be with us here this evening. So Liz, thank you. Looking forward to working with you tonight.
Thank you.
Good. Next item up on our agenda is the consent agenda, and could I have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda of January 10th, 2022 regular board meeting, a copy of which is to be attached to and become a permanent part of the minutes of this meeting.
And a second?
I second that.
Great. Does anyone want to discuss or remove any items on the consent agenda? Great. Hearing none, could I have a roll call?
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes. Great.
The motion has passed.
All right. Next item on our agenda, 5.0, is communication and correspondence. We've received significant correspondence, primarily concerning the proposed amenities at West Park. We also had a hearing earlier this evening where a number of folks addressed us, and again, we'll have an opportunity in a minute. Did anybody receive any other communication or correspondence not in the packet?
Just as I mentioned in the last meeting, a correspondence from Miss Sullivan, whose name is eluding me right now, that Steve Wilson forwarded. It will be included in the next packet, and she was commenting on the proposals for amenities at West Park, and she was a neighbor and is against the changes there.
And we also heard from Jessica Martinez in a similar way, and that will be part of the official record. Anyone else?
All correspondence I received was shared.
Great. Wonderful. All right. At this point, I would like to open up the floor to public comment. I'd like to get a sense of how many people would like to address us. I would like to remind everyone that our practice is that we limit comment to 3 minutes. And so at 10 or 15 seconds before that, I'll try to give you a friendly wave, and then I will hold comment at 3 minutes. I will also say that we review all of the written material that we receive, so anything that's in the packet, we have all previously received. So if you've written something already, you can assume that we're familiar with it, and feel free to hit the high points. So with that, I'd like to see a show of hands of the people who would like to address us this evening. Okay. Great. So I think what I'll do this time is I'll start in front here and work my way back, and then I'll come over to this side and I'll go front to back as well. So, Walter, the floor is yours if you would give us your name and address and fire away.
Walter Keats, 2514 Laurel Lane. Sorry, I'm just curious that you passed the employment contract for the executive director, but then you're going to go to a closed session. Is that, I'm just...
Yeah, that's a good question. And again, normally there's not a lot of back and forth, but just to clarify a couple of things. This evening in closed session will be, as is typically our practice, we'll be considering a review for his performance over the past year. We'll be considering goals for the coming year and a bonus. In terms of the employment contract itself, it is something that we did discuss in closed session last month. And I can tell from my personal experience, prior park executive directors had employment contracts here. For whatever reason, Steve didn't in the past, even though our council tells us it's a standard practice. And so we decided to implement that this year. There's really no change in the terms of his contract in terms of his vacation or benefits or salary. The only key change from my perspective is that we would each need to communicate with the other if we wanted to change his employment during the period of the contract. And then there were provisions for how that would happen.
Yeah, it just seems...
And it's public record.
Yeah, but then
Yes.
you're going to... But what if it's your meeting you decided you didn't want to renew? I'm not suggesting you do, please, but it just...
No, we have approved it at this point, so it's...
So you're just talking about other things later. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thanks, Walter. All right, on this side, anybody else who would like to address us? Yeah, please, come on up.
Matthew Hirschfeld, 736 Laramie Avenue. I apologize, I walked in halfway in that meeting, so I may have missed a lot that has already been said, but I wanted to read my thoughts about this expansion. I'm a brand new resident of the village of Wilmette. This past summer, I purchased my first home on Laramie Avenue. One of the great selling points was the beautiful park right across my street, with a secluded playground where one day my children would be able to play in a safe environment. Now you want to overrun this park with a dozen new ball courts and move the playground to a further and unsafe location in between a busy parking lot and a baseball field. I'm asking you to please reconsider this drastic overhaul. The addition of the courts will also take away from the open beauty of the current park and remove its green space. The congested structures will make it feel more like an industrial court than it will a village park. Why such a need to build so many courts? Throughout the summer and fall, I would walk my dog along these courts and notice how empty they would be during the daytime and rarely in use. Why spend money to build and maintain these courts when you cannot guarantee high turnover and usage rate? At last week's meeting, my neighbors and I discussed the annoyance of courts lights being left on and loud, obscene language being shouted late into the nights. And I thought I had it easy when I was living in Los Angeles, living over the street noises. I'm able to hear the screaming from upstairs in my bedroom at night, and I live across the street from all of this. I can't imagine how my neighbors living right next to this must feel, being right on top of that, and how they're going to feel when balls are being hit and served into their backyard. I adamantly object to this proposed sport court expansion, and I strongly encourage the Park District to reconsider this radical plan. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? All right, starting in the front over here. Anybody in the second row? All right.
Well,
And again,
my name's Gary Cole, by the
Yes.
way, and I live at 732 Laramie. I'm a year-and-a-half resident of Wilmette, and like Matt before me, certainly the park was a drawing card for living in that area. And I'm actually stunned that Wilmette would think about getting rid of green space and moving a children's playground and really changing the nature of those few blocks around there in order to put in some pickleball courts. Now, maybe there's a huge demand for pickleball. I'm not aware of it, but maybe they're just dying to play pickleball over there. We already tolerate the paddleboard. It's loud, it's noisy. The lights stay on, as you've heard, a lot of times later than they're supposed to. Okay, but adding 8 more courts, pickleball, there's a liquor ingredient in this thing too. People get a little soused, they get loud, they get boisterous, and sometimes they get foul-mouthed. So I would hope you would rethink this. It's one of those things, if you do it, there's no undoing it. It'll be, West Park will be gone forever, and that would be a shame. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I bring the next person up, again, just to clarify, in the Centennial Committee, we did have a conversation specifically about the lights, and staff did recognize that the timers had been adjusted incorrectly, and the lights were, in fact, on past when they were supposed to be, but staff has told us that that was corrected this past Wednesday. So again, to the extent that we see anything moving forward, please, anyone who's aware of it, reach out to any of us, reach out to the staff, and we'll make sure that it's addressed. But it's the kind of thing that should not happen again. But thank you for bringing up the point. In the third row, would anybody like to speak? All right, the fourth row? The fifth row? All right, the last row, please. Patrick?
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick O'Gara, 740 Laramie, where my parents moved in 1977 when I was a year old, so I know Wilmette very well. And I would submit to you that approving a budget that incorporates these plans would be grossly premature. What you're seeing here tonight is and what is the product of what was acknowledged actually by one of the commissioners, that there was not sufficient outreach to the neighborhood. And you're just seeing the beginning of the opposition to these radical plans to take the last remaining natural grass space left in this park away from the neighborhood. The number of committee meetings when this was addressed is immaterial if the neighborhood didn't know about it, and they simply didn't. Well, you know, it doesn't matter what was available on the website, what was available in agendas and meeting minutes. The neighborhood simply didn't know until about 3 weeks ago. And you're seeing this much opposition organized this quickly because this is a radical plan that will hurt enjoyment of living. It will cause child endangerment, putting a park near Lake Avenue, next to a parking lot, next to an access road, next to a ball field, outfield, across from a liquor store, near no Lake Avenue crosswalks, but yet visible from Lake Avenue. You're talking about tripling the number of courts that are already a nuisance. You're talking about something that will hurt people living in this neighborhood. And the Wilmette I knew in the 80s and the 90s and in the last 20 years cared about these things and wouldn't try to steamroll something because people willing to pay membership fees to use paddle and pickleball courts wanted it, and that it would guarantee revenue. Certain things should be more important. You are not a private business. This is a public park district. And the public's opinion and the neighbors of the park
and their opinions should matter, and this is only 3 weeks that we've known about it. So you have not heard enough about this yet, you have not done your due diligence well enough yet, and you should not approve this. It would be irresponsible to approve this at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Does anyone else want to address us this evening? Yes, please.
My name is Diane Clark, and I live at 302 Laurel Avenue in Wilmette. And I don't have anything to do. And I hope that this is the right time and place for this. It is my understanding that the Park District is looking to renew or find a new contractor for the food service at the golf course. And I just wanted to say that personally, what's there now is really good. It's sort of a wide range of foods. It's not, doesn't only apply to people who only want to eat burgers or who only want to eat tacos or whatever. So personally, and then on a bit grander scale, sort of, as a board member of the St. Joseph and Francis Xavier Women's Club, we have had some of our events there, and the women love it. It's so, we love the fact that it's A, Wilmette, B, we can, we're giving back to our community. B, it's convenient, parking is easy, there's no stairs, people don't have to, at any rate, it's very, very, it's just perfect for that kind of thing. So I just wanted to put in a plug so that we could continue to have the same kind of a service that we have when we have an event. The staff is wonderful, they're easy to work with. So that's my plea, if you will. So thank you for your time.
This was absolutely the right time for you to say that, and thank you for the input. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Diane.
Yep. Would anybody else like to address us this evening?
Talk about something with St. Louis Plaza?
Anything you want. Absolutely. This is the time.
Well, it's a perfect time. For those of you that don't know who I am Chrissy DiClemente Harlow. DiClementes have been in Wilmette since 1935, so we're not new to Wilmette.
Thank you.
I have been running the food service for the last 4 years for the Wilmette Park District. If you look on that last page, that's showing my revenue for this last year. With 3 months being closed because of COVID, we still did over $600,000 in sales. I have 49 years of being in the food and beverage business, 35 years being in country clubs and golf clubs, 14 years of owning a la carte, which is a Wilmette-based business for 42 years. I have submitted a bid. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but letting you know that I've already proven the last 4 years that I've been very successful as a business and the golf club, that we've brought in several different groups, the Wilmette Rotary, Morton Grove Women's Club, Loyola, New Trier, Niles West. These are things that I brought in for revenue. So when you look at the catering numbers, look at that part of it. So whatever your decision is, I feel very strongly that I would like to continue doing the food business there, but obviously that's in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to address us? All right, great. Thank you for all of the comments. We do appreciate it. Moving forward to the standing committee reports on the agenda. The first committee report is the Lakefront Committee.
Yes, thank you. The Lakefront Committee met this evening, and we discussed 2 items of business. One is the revetment at Langdon Beach and how to properly allow both shoreline protection as well as keep open access both now and in the future when we hope we have additional beach and shoreline. The committee asked staff to go back to our consultants, the Smith Group, and to examine option C and identify how we might make that path as walker friendly, as well as for those who might have wheelchairs or strollers. The second item that we discussed was with respect to the Lakeview Center, and Andy Tanucci from Woodhouse Tanucci Architects shared the initial version of floor plans looking at both the upper level and the lower level. We provided feedback on lower level configuration and also inquired about having family accessible bathrooms on both the first floor and the lower level. Currently, there is a drawing that incorporates a family bathroom only on the lower level, and so we're inquiring if that could be both, and of course, what the trade-offs and the costs would be associated with that. We also heard from staff and had updates on some of the summer planning, including hiring for the summer season. And on a day like today, I think we're all dreaming a little bit about time at the beach. Plans are progressing as expected, and that was what our committee covered this evening.
Great. Does anybody have any questions or comments about what was covered? No. All right. I have a couple real quick. First off, you referenced Plan C for Langdon. That's the one that basically crosses the bluff and then comes back. So whether it's ADA accessible, it would be certainly the least steep grade.
It would be the least steep grade, and we recognize that it may not be possible to make it ADA accessible. Understanding, some of the puts and takes of that. It is our understanding too that if the path was selected as C lays out, it might serve as a revetment, and there might not be beach at this time. And so we have to, understand to the extent we can predict the lake how that works.
And the B, I think, was a steeper path that was much more similar to what had been there previously.
Consistent with what we might all remember in the last several years.
And have they given us any cost estimates? Are they similar in cost? Is there a significant difference? Have you factored that in yet in terms of
Not at
planning?
this time in terms of, it is primarily conceptual, but we know that cost will very much weigh in the decision.
Okay, so when you ask them to investigate the one, they'll still provide some cost information for the other?
We are not ruling out at this time.
Great, wonderful, sounds good.
Can I ask a quick question? I just heard you say that you're not ruling anything out. And A had steps, right, with platforms
That's a good
down,
clarification. We aren't considering the steps fully. We would prefer to have a ramped version, but if there is a ramp plus stair, I don't know if that's what you're inquiring, but.
I was just curious what the thought was to lean more towards a ramp as opposed to stairs. Is it purely just, because if I remember right, it's ADA is not a requirement at Langdon, but it's a nice thing that we could.
It's a nice thing to do. I think that's a good way to frame it. Certainly if we find that a path is either cost prohibitive or not ideal for a variety of reasons, I don't think anyone's ruling out a stair. There's lots of ways to make an attractive stair.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And still, provide the level of access that's appropriate.
Right.
So.
Thank you so much.
Was there a trade-off between having the stair and keeping some beach, and the ramp
Not at
means
this
you don't
time.
have the beach at this time?
Currently, we have so little beach to work with that there isn't much to keep or give up, but that is certainly a consideration, whether it's for the board that sits here or for the board 10 years from now. I want to make it as flexible to accommodate future beach.
But sort of the end point of the stairs or the ramp or the access would be at around the same spot, regardless of where the beach is. It would be or would you be?
Depends on
The ramp, what do you think
There
would
is
be?
the configuration C has a long ramp that aims more toward the condo side of the Langdon, of Langdon Beach versus the option B, which is more consistent with the current path.
But we did, we did request maybe investigating what through SEEK, if a switchback can be done, which could potentially bring it closer to the original, the more southern portion of Langdon. But I don't know how that's something for them to further, just determine whether that's a doable option.
Thank you.
And then with respect to the Lakeview Center, as you mentioned, you've asked the architects to consider whether they can add a family use bathroom on the second floor as well.
And we also asked for a slightly different reconfiguration
Of the
on the
first
first,
floor
on the
flow,
lower level,
right.
yes.
Great. Yeah, for whatever it's worth, I know that there was some talk about how another bathroom might increase the cost, but still substantially less than the most expensive bathroom options that we didn't consider.
Correct, that we ruled out.
Right. And so I think it's a relatively modest cost if it can be done. I'd certainly love to see that for whatever it's worth.
It does seem a little more community-friendly, family-friendly to have a family option on both.
Yep. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Golf Committee report.
So I've been asked to read this from because I'm not chair of the golf committee. Lindsay, our commissioner, who's not here tonight. So the golf committee met last month and heard about from staff about off-season maintenance that Nick's team is working on. They've been able to address a lot of things more efficiently due to the closure to golfers because of the cart path. The cart path was fully asphalted by December 4th, but the restoration to the adjacent area still needs to be completed and will be a top priority as weather permits. As operations are slow due to the winter and the early closure, there was little to report here. Therefore, the balance of the meeting was spent discussing a memo from Adam and Steve in regard to the proposal for the restaurant operations at the golf course. The committee gave direction to try and work with the proposal from the lawn first before moving to any other proposals. And if I remember correctly, it was because the lawn was asking for some capital improvements to kind of change around a number of things, and some of which we had kind of planned for when we talked about an changing up of the bar area and expansion of the patio. Maybe an additional door into the patio area, but the lawn's proposal was really different than what we had conceived. So we asked Steve and Adam to have some meetings to see how we could work together, if there was a possibility of working together. And if we couldn't come to some sort of an agreement, then they would move on to the next proposal, which was a la carte, the existing, or the Oaks, which was another proposal. That followed. The lawn seemed to be the favored of the three committee members, but like I said, there was a lot to talk about because it's a very big conceptual change there and some capital improvements that we really hadn't planned on. So
it's still in process.
So it's still in process, and if things can't be worked out with the lawn, like I said, then a la carte is next in line to talk with to see if we can't make something work with them, who is again the existing purveyor. That was pretty much the whole meeting.
Great. Any questions, comments?
Nothing to add.
All right. Great. I think you're up again. Parks and Rec.
So Parks and Rec did not have a meeting this past month.
Okay. Nothing to report?
Nothing to report.
Great. All right. Centennial met earlier this evening, and the bulk of the conversation did concern the West Park amenities. We had a number of folks, mostly who live close to the park, who spoke out in opposition to the plan. We did then also have a presentation by our Parks and Planning Director, who shared some updates concerning the plans and the process. We're going to be doing a parking study. The village has asked us to do that to evaluate whether there's sufficient parking or what other parking might need to be required in anticipation of a zoning board hearing probably sometime in the next month or two. And we did have a meeting on site last week at the Paddle Hut, as we refer to it, the Paddle Building, where again a number of folks from the immediate community came, and generally the feedback there was negative. We received 60-some notes in support, and then we've received some correspondence in opposition as well. So we're in the process there. But one of the things that in the meeting we asked the staff to take a look into was whether the playground could be fit and could be located in a location close to where it is now, basically immediately south of the turf field, but north of where the paddle courts would go on the easternmost edge of the property. And we heard that the site is approximately the same size, slightly smaller than the existing playground, but it would be smaller than the playground up northwest of the ball field, which was the recommended location at this point. But so staff's going to investigate that further and then see if that's something that might be practical. In addition, during the manager's reports, we heard that the pool job fair, which was scheduled for the middle of this month, has been rescheduled to the beginning of next month due to COVID concerns. I believe last year we did the job fair virtually, but they'd prefer to do it in person, so they're hoping by next month we'll be able to do that. They also shared that the pool schedule next year will look much more like 2019 than it has each of the last couple of years. The ice show is scheduled for May 15th, and the paddle Paddle had a club championship with 100 players this past week. Apparently, it's the first time it was done, and it was very well received. And that is the Centennial Report, unless anybody has any questions.
No.
All right. Next up on the agenda is the Financial Planning and Policy Committee.
Financial Planning and Policy Committee did not meet in December. I guess when said we did, the entire board did actually tend to meet separately and discuss the budget and the capital expenditures which we approved for fiscal year 2022. And I don't know if I need any.
Great.
That's about it.
Well, we have a couple things coming up for you under new
Yes.
business.
Yes.
Right. All right. Any questions or comments? All right. Real Estate,
Real Estate Committee did not meet.
Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee.
We did not meet.
Great. Next up is the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you. Okay, so as you know, Steve wrote the report. I'm just going to provide a brief overview of it. The first two items on the report are about the public hearings that we began the meeting with. So I won't get into detail with those, but please note that each hearing has an ordinance that will need your approval under the new business and later on in the agenda. The first ordinance is what is called a parameters ordinance for the issuance of debt. It sets the outside parameters for what the district will do when issuing the debt. It is up to $1.25 million, and as discussed here tonight, the plan is to issue slightly less debt than that amount. Once the bond issuance has final terms, those items will be brought back in February for the full board's approval. The other ordinance is the annual budget and appropriations ordinance. It is the legal document filed with the county outlining our appropriations for the next fiscal year. The appropriations are our legal spending authority, while the budget is used as an internal guide. To that end, the appropriations amount are greater than the budget to allow for flexibility as compared to the budgets. And then under new business, you also find a surplus ordinance. Anytime the district disposes of capital assets, a surplus ordinance is required. In this instance, it is for various old computers, equipment, and the listing is attached to the ordinance. And then finally, I did want to touch upon the Cook County COVID mitigations. For those of you who are familiar, they were released on December 22nd, very close to when many staff were on holiday break. Just to give you a little bit of context, Wilmette does not have a certified health department, so subsequently we defer to the Cook County Department of Health and the Illinois Department of Public Health as our authority, as our health authority. So we will follow and have followed those mandates. They were released on the 22nd of December. We worked diligently to create a plan for them, and then shortly thereafter, I believe after a lot of feedback to Cook County, they were lessened. So we did implement those starting January 3rd. I can say pretty confidently after a week, we feel good about where we're at. We feel that we have worked within the spirit of what the mandate is to continue to serve our community. And we feel we've been relatively successful, not perfect, but relatively successful in holding those mandates and still serving the community. And that is all I have for
And during the Centennial Committee report, our supervisor, Jason Stanislaus, had mentioned that he seemed to think that that this has gone well at that particular facility. And I personally had heard from a number of folks in prior weeks and months that thought that some of the had been somewhat lax. So it sounds like, as you said, we're not perfect, but seem to be moving in a good direction, and
We do.
seems to be working pretty well, all things considered.
Thus far, we just started week 2 today. Thus far, we do feel good. Our mission, it was consistency, continuing to serve the public, but also upholding and being compliant, and I feel we've done that. We will continue to see where this takes us. This is a fluid situation, and we keep adjusting accordingly, and we had to adjust quickly, even from the 22nd to the 31st, we were making changes based on the changes that Cook County was making. So yes, we feel good where we're at, and we're also getting a lot of feedback from the community, and we continue to take that into account.
Great. And to clarify what you'd said a couple of minutes earlier, we will be approving ordinance 22-0-1 for budget and appropriations, but the parameters ordinance for the issuance of the 1.25 million in debt, we'll actually do that next month.
Okay.
Right. Great.
May I make one more comment?
Please.
So I think we were all copied, communicated with Steve, I should say, during the process of trying to figure out the new mitigation standards. And I believe that via a contact of Lindsay's, who's not here, Steve got somebody's contact information at the county's Department of Health or whatever department it might have technically been called, and worked very closely with them to try and revise the original statements to make it so that park districts could actually provide the services that we are currently able to provide. Because initially, we couldn't have kids come in. So
Who weren't vaccinated.
who weren't
Right.
well, but
Right.
who weren't vaccinated.
But that's a serious issue.
But that's a big issue because
Absolutely.
a lot of kids under 12 can't be vaccinated yet, according to the standards that the county and the state have put out there, or even the federal government. So we would have had to shut down a lot of programming. And I think it's important to note Steve's efforts on behalf of not just our community, but the county in his conversations with Cook County's Department of Health. So
That's a really great point. I'm glad that you brought that up because there was a tremendous amount of communication, a tremendous amount of back and forth, and the end result, I think, was really a win for everybody, not just our community, but other communities as well.
right, but I want to make sure Steve got some credit for the effort that he put out.
I agree. Thank you.
And also, please pass along thank you to the staff, recognizing that it was the holiday and no
Yeah.
one asked to spend
Yes.
extra hours where they might have preferred to be with their families, and understanding that COVID's been passing around as well. That was a heavy lift. And so we acknowledge that there was a lot of communications that had to go to the community and constantly rewriting them as the mitigations changed from day to day. So Liz, please thank the staff for all of their extra work over the holidays for that
I
again.
absolutely will. Thank you.
And the fact that the implementation has gone so well is such a kudos to your staff. So
Yep.
thank you very much for taking what's a very difficult situation and making it, as Jason said, manageable, where it hasn't inconvenienced users, which is a huge, huge kudos to you again. Thank
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. That's the Executive Director report?
Yes?
Wonderful. I do not believe we have any unfinished business. Is that correct? All right. Under new business, we have two items. The first is the consideration of ordinance 2022-0-1 for budget and appropriations. And Cecilia, could you?
I'll move to approve ordinance 2022-0-1, an ordinance making a combined annual budget and appropriation of funds for the Wilmette Park District, Cook County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2022 and ending on the 31st day of December 2022.
And is there a second?
I second it.
All right, just some brief discussion. As I think everyone is aware, while we pass a budget, we also pass an appropriations ordinance, which is for larger amounts because that's what we're legally able to spend. So we build some cushions in. So Liz, could you clarify the relationship between the budget and the appropriations and how much larger the appropriations is this year and in the past?
So in the past, they were no more, before 2021, no more than 10%. And now they're between 15 and 25%, is my understanding.
So we've given ourselves a little bit more of a cushion because we did have so much uncertainty in
Correct.
the past year or two.
Correct.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Any other questions or comments? All right. The last point I would make, I know that I was speaking with a gentleman after the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting who was concerned that if included in this plan is our funds allocated for amenities at West Park, that would then mean that that's definitely occurring. And just to clarify, every year when we pass the capital budget, that's our plan, and we're allowed then to spend up to that much, but we don't necessarily spend it all. And in the current year, there were a number of projects that we deferred, and we certainly have the flexibility to defer any projects again this year. So I just wanted to clarify that before we take the vote. And with that, could we have a roll call?
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Motion to approve ordinance 2022-01 is approved.
Great. Next up is consideration of ordinance 2022-0-2 for surplus property.
I'll move to approve ordinance 2022-02, an ordinance authorizing the disposal of certain surplus property owned by the Wilmette Park District.
And a second?
I second.
Okay. And it seems like this is mostly telephonic equipment. We recently upgraded our system, and so the old system definitely is surplus. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Roll call.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Motion to approve ordinance 2022-02 is passed.
All right. I would entertain a motion to move into closed session.
I got the mouthful.
Hey, I asked Julia to do it last time. It's only fair that everybody gets a turn.
It's your turn.
I move to adjourn to closed session for the purposes of the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the district or against legal counsel to determine its validity, and to discuss the minutes of meetings lawfully closed, whether for the purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes in accordance with Section 2C1 and 2C21 of the Open Meetings Act.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes. We are adjourned.